Hi, it's Olivia, and today I'll be talking about the movies and books that I saw in the month of June. I'm going to start out with the movies, but if you're only interested in the book portion, I'll put the time of that right on the screen. But yeah, let's get started. The three movies that I saw in the month of June were Hereditary, the horror film, the comedy Tag, and the sequel to The Incredibles, The Incredibles 2. Of the three, The Incredibles 2 is definitely my favorite. I love this poster so much. I showed it in my last vlog, but I saw a double feature and so they gave this out. I just love this poster. Anyway, just like I love the movie. Such a seamless continuation of the first movie, and the action is so much better than in so many live action films. The action in those movies are insane. I love the action scenes and the animation and the way they use their powers, and even if it wasn't going for the superhero aspect, the family aspect is hilarious. And then all I wanted, like my main wish from this movie, was that Jack would get more in the spotlight, and he definitely did. He steals the show, and I couldn't appreciate it more. To get so much of Jack was just such a gift, and it was so good. If I had to say one critique, it would be that I think that the villain in Incredibles was way better. Syndrome was such a unique character. His fanboy gone wrong storyline is that, I love that. For a villain, he was awesome. I think compared to this villain that we had in this one, I just love The Incredibles 2. I thought it was a great sequel. Let me know what you thought of it as a sequel. Did you think it lived up to the first one? And then also, Tag comes in for a close second for most enjoyable movie of the month. I was so surprised by how much I enjoyed this. It was kind of like a silly comedy, because the idea is that these guys have been playing, and it's based off of a true story, that these guys have been playing the same game of tag for 30 years. The soundtrack, by the way, was surprisingly amazing and soulful, and there's this heartfelt, message to it, and so it's just one of those movies that left me smiling so hard at the end and when I was walking out. And I actually saw this one twice, and both times the whole theater was laughing, and it was really entertaining. I would go and see it again. And then we have Hereditary. I'm definitely in the minority who didn't think it was amazing. And it sounds weird when you say that maybe you didn't find a movie as disturbing as everyone else, because that makes it sound like the movie wasn't disturbing, or that like I'm a psychopath because I don't find it disturbing. That's not the case. There are some disturbing aspects of this movie. Very disturbing and very, like, I remember with the first big moment that happened in here, I was so shocked that it happened. I couldn't believe what had happened, and I was like, oh boy, we are in for something. And I wasn't the biggest fan of like where the movie went from this event. I'm not going to spoil. I actually saw a review that Jeremy Jahs did of this movie, and I agreed with so much of it, but specifically he said something about how he kind of wished the ending was a little bit more open-ended, like leaving room for question, because I think that would have been more eerie. Like if you're wondering whether something, like they make it certain that you know what is causing something, I don't know how to explain it, but he does. I'll link his review in the description. I'm not into scary movies just to have like those jump scares, but it definitely wasn't. I'd heard that it was like this really terrifying movie, and I didn't get that, and it was really slow burn. Some people like that, some people don't. I thought it was Alright, on to the book portion. And the first one I read was When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. This is a memoir that was published after his death. He died of lung cancer, and it really is like, because he didn't finish the book, and that I think hit me really hard, because like the epilogue or the ending was written by his wife, and it really added to the meaning that he would what he was talking about throughout the book. The fact that he wasn't able to finish the book really was powerful in connection to what he was saying throughout the story. He's just a really admirable person to me. He and his two fields, like his two most passionate fields, were like literature and neuroscience, and I just found that combination amazing. I think it made for a really great read, because he's able to reference all these literary works, and you can tell he has that literary background, but he also has this passion for science, and reading about his life as a neurosurgeon was also just so fascinating, and so it was really a good read. There's this passage though that I really want to include, because I think it was such a meaningful thing for him to include in his story, and it's not even his words, it's the words of his the assistant director of the camp that he worked at one summer, who was getting like his PhD in literature or something. I believe so. I'll have to look into if this guy has his own published work right now, but there's a longer passage, but it essentially says, I don't believe in the wisdom of children nor in the wisdom of the old. There is a moment, a cusp, when the sum of gathered experience is worn down by the details of living. We are never so wise as when we live in this moment. And I seriously put the book down. I was like, oh my goodness, that hit me so hard. That was such a beautiful line. The next books, if you've watched, I think, the last 2 videos, I've been mentioning these books, but I finally got around to reading all the 3 books that are out in the Ember and the Ashes series by Sabaa Tahir. I am fully on board of the obsession with these books, by the way. In my mind, the hype made it seem not as good because I was worried that it was more like a typical YA like fantasy story, but I was so surprised by all the dark elements and like the atmosphere and the setting of this story. It was so cool. The setting for this one, the plot that's going on, I think is really unique in comparison to the other 2. Like A Torch Against the Night, I feel like fell into more of a typical story, but I still enjoyed this one, just not nearly as much as this. I think if you've been wondering about this and you're wondering, should I give this one a chance? I'm here to say I think you should. I really think though it's a testament to the writing of this because I easily could see how someone would be bored. I know that sounds weird to say. If I wasn't so intrigued by the story and the characters and this setting that they're in, I think I would have been so bored. But it's the fact that I'm so invested in them that I really, really loved it. So yeah, this was definitely my favorite of the 3. This one went like a very different route because you can see that they couldn't have the same type of story going on with the way this ended. And then this one continued to just be so dark, and by the end, the climax was wild. Something else I really wanted to mention that's unique about these books is that Sabaa Tahir is not afraid to let things go wrong. Because, you know, it's so easy for there to always be something at the very last second to save the characters, to save something, to stop something from happening. There's always something, and I think we all wish for that, you know. We're going, oh, okay, this is happening, but surely, there's going to be a solution. Or that's not going to happen, something else is going to pop up. But she is not afraid to just say, everything that can go wrong, especially in the 3rd book. Everything that can go wrong goes wrong, and it just never lets up, and it makes it feel more realistic in that way. Anyway, I didn't want to do like a whole series review because it's not, the 4th book isn't out yet, so I do want to make more detailed, like very detailed reviews of each of the books on Goodreads. It's just I can't promise when that will when I'll put those out, because every time I say review to come, whether a video review or if I type it in when I finish a book saying, oh, review to come soon, it's such a lie, I never get to it, but here's to hoping that I do. The next book that I read was this contemporary romance, The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I've heard so much about it. This was really cute, and I finished it all in one sitting. I couldn't help it. It didn't floor me. It wasn't my absolute favorite thing ever, but it was still really entertaining, so let me know if you read this. It really made me want to pick up The Kiss Quotient, which, by the way, I kept thinking was, I don't know why I thought it was The Kissing Quotient, so when I was looking it up on the library catalog, nothing was coming up. I was like, dang it, my library doesn't have it. And so I also bought this, and this is my 3rd book that I bought this year, or 4th book. It's weird for me to buy books. The fact that I bought both of these and Reaper at the Gates is just so weird to me. But anyway, I have started this. This is now my current read. I'll probably finish it in the next day or 2 because these kind of books go so quick. And yeah, that is the end of this, and let me know any of your thoughts on anything that I've watched or read. And let's see. I'd love to know what your favorite movie was that you've seen recently, whether in theaters or maybe you watched it like on Netflix or something. I'd love to know, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.